He thought he found the deal of the year. A diesel truck for $1,200, running, driving, clean title. The seller said it only needed a battery and a little interior work. But by the time that truck made it back to his driveway, the deal had already started falling apart. The listing had been up for only 20 minutes. Old 3/4-ton diesel. Faded paint, work truck wheels, cracked dash, nothing fancy, but for $1,200, nobody expected fancy. The seller said he needed it gone that night. That was the first red flag. When the buyer showed up, the truck was already running. The seller said he started it to let it warm up. That sounded normal at first, but when a seller has the engine warm before you arrive, you lose the chance to see the cold start. That was the second red flag. The truck sounded rough, but not dead. It had a little white smoke, a weak idle, and warning lights on the dash. The seller pointed at the battery light and said that was why it was cheap. The buyer checked the oil. Dark, but not milky. Coolant was low, but not empty. Tires held air. Transmission went into gear. So, he paid cash. The drive home was only 8 miles. The first 3 were fine. Then the temperature gauge started climbing. The heater blew cold. The engine smelled like hot coolant, burning oil, and something electrical. He pulled over, opened the hood, and saw coolant sprayed across the engine bay. The overflow tank was bubbling. The upper radiator hose was hard as a rock. That is when the cheap truck stopped feeling cheap. He let it cool down, added water, and limped it home. The next morning he tried to start it cold. Nothing. It cranked slow, coughed twice, and pushed white smoke out of the exhaust. That is when the real investigation started. The battery was weak, just like the seller said, but it was not the main problem. After charging it, the truck still struggled to start. The scan tool showed glow plug codes, a coolant temperature sensor code, and signs the codes had been cleared recently. That was the clue. Somebody had cleared the check engine light before the sale, not fixed the problem, cleared it. Then the buyer noticed the coolant reservoir was stained brown. The cap still had pressure the next morning. That pointed toward combustion gases entering the cooling system. In simple words, the engine was pushing cylinder pressure into the coolant. That can mean a blown head gasket, cracked head, bad cooler, or another serious internal issue. The truck did not need a battery. It needed diagnosis, real diagnosis, and probably more money than the truck was worth. Here are the 3 lessons. First, never let the seller control the cold start. A cold start tells you about batteries, injectors, glow plugs, compression, smoke, and idle quality. Second, do not ignore low coolant. Low coolant, overheating, white smoke, and pressure in the reservoir can point to expensive engine problems. Third, bring a scan tool and check readiness monitors. If codes were cleared recently, the truck may not have driven long enough for the problems to come back yet. The buyer did not lose because he bought a cheap truck. He lost because he bought the seller's story instead of the truck's evidence. Would you have bought this diesel for $1,200 or walked away the second you saw it already warmed up?